Hit songs. Those are absolutely crucial in any artist's career. We sat down with one of the leading music songwriters, Shelly Peiken. You definitely want to hear what she has to say right now. This episode of the MUBUTV Insider video series is brought to you by the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source serving the music business community for over 30 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Guide, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com. Hi. We're coming at you live from Sync Summit here in West Hollywood at the SLS Hotel. We managed to catch up with hit songwriter Shelly Peiken. You know her from her #1 hits with Christina Aguilera, What a Girl Wants, and Come On Over Baby, as well as her massive hit with Meredith Brooks, Bitch. Shelly, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it so much.
It's good
Welcome.
to be here.
You know, I want to ask you, you've been writing a long time, and in your mind, what are the qualities or what are the elements that make a great song?
I've always said that it's really about, and no matter what genre it is, it's really about taking an idea that's universal and putting it in a unique frame. That's how I pare it down, because anything I hear that stands out to me fits that description.
Okay. So it's just being unique about it.
I think
the presentation,
that really
that universal idea in a unique way, which is that is easier said than done.
Absolutely.
It's easier said than done. You know?
And usually it's an accident.
When it happens, you mean when you write something that...
You know, I think that you can plan all you want to write something extraordinary that day. And I think that the best songs really just fall from the sky by accident.
Have you ever had a situation in writing where one of your songs you weren't that impressed with personally, you didn't think it was anything special, but the record came out phenomenally?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm afraid to say it because the people I wrote it with will say,
okay,
she didn't think it was good. But I'll just say it.
Okay.
Because I love the girls and they were fantastic. I wrote a song with the Veronicas and Greg Wells called Hook Me Up. And it was something that I probably would have put on the back burner and forgotten about if not for Greg. And he whipped it into shape, and the production was solid, and it was #1 in Australia. So I thought, go figure. Now it's tricky because a lot of times these days there's so many songs out there and so many songwriters out there that you think, well, unless I really feel like a song is remarkable, I'm not even going to go to demo it because it's just life is too short, there's too many songs. But then you think of times like that where you thought, well, I lost my compass there and I wasn't sure, and look what happened. So you have to really feel like something has no merit to not finish it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You know, as you were speaking, I was thinking, you know, the chance elements of writing. A lot of writers talk about inspiration, and I'm curious, from your point of view, you've been writing a long time, and have the sources of inspiration for you expanded? Have they become more as you become more experienced? Are they different now, the sources of inspiration that you use, or do you still go to the same ones?
I think that they're different from when I was in my 20s. I think when I was in my 20s, life was so confusing. And I certainly was writing from a place where perhaps I wasn't so content. And now I'm content. So those moments of discontent don't visit me as often. And those moments of discontent were valuable and wonderful for a songwriter.
Yeah.
So when I get them, I use them, and I write a lot from being content. And also, I usually work with another artist who's making a record at this point in my career, so I can tap into what they want to say. I'm happy to help them say what they want to say. Hopefully, there's a common thread between what they're thinking that day. Have I ever felt it before? Well, I can say that. I can help you say that. So in my 20s, there wasn't as much room for that. I wasn't doing that as much. So I wrote for my own angst.
Are there things that you go to for, I guess what you call, inspiration? Is it films? Is it reading? Is it walking in the garden? I mean, what are the things that you use?
I can't plan it because you never know, but I'll tell you what. As soon as I think I'm done and stuck and I can't get anything else, if I walk away, I get it. Every time I go to the gym, if I'm on that treadmill, I find the word I was looking for, I find the line I needed, I get an idea for a new blog. It just all comes, I think, when your body is in motion and you get your blood flowing, especially to your head.
Yeah.
Because I hang upside down and make it all the 1 minute a day. Sitting in front of the computer looking at your lyric sheet saying, please find the word, it never works. It's almost like, I'm not very religious, but I believe that there's a power in the universe, and I do think when you give up control and let go of something, that's when it finds you.
It's interesting. I as you're speaking about that, I'm recalling an interview with Bob Dylan where they were asking that very same point to him. Where does this come from? Where, you're such a brilliant. He says, I don't believe I create anything. He says, I believe it just flows through me.
Lucky man.
Yeah, I mean, when he was doing all of that incredible work,
Right.
this was like in 69 or 70, they asked him that. And, he'd had a huge body of work behind him at that point. But he says he's just the channel. And I've heard Van Morrison and Joni Mitchell say the same thing, that it's about putting yourself, like you said, in those places that, whether it's physical activity or wherever, that it will just open the channels and flow through you.
I know what he's talking about, not because that happens for me all the time, but it's happened a few times. And a few times over the course of like 2-3 decades is not that much, even if it's been 10 times. But there are times that you feel like it's just like a ghost.
Mm-hmm. It's just
and
flowing through
it
you.
writes itself. Usually I'm sitting at the piano and it's really kind of freaky. He's lucky that it happens to him every day, and that's why he's Bob Dylan.
Well, this was many years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not a recent interview. It was an interview he did in 1970,
Yeah.
but the volume of work he had done between 62 and 70 was staggering.
Mm-hmm.
And it was monumentous work. So it's just interesting about that kind of premise. You brought up an interesting fact which got me thinking about this next question, which is, you said when you're working with an artist, and I'm curious, is the creative process for you different when you're writing alone versus when you're going to be writing with someone? What are the differences in terms of the process itself?
When I'm writing with myself, I feel no self-consciousness at all.
Okay.
If I'm writing with an artist, well, and then there's something in between, which is you're writing with another songwriter. And I like to get into a room with a songwriter who I feel understands. We both understand where we're coming from, and we're not afraid to say things and make a fool of ourselves, because some great things come from the ideas you put out there that are ridiculous.
Right, and the
trust.
trust.
Sound of the word, and if you're too safe and you're not with somebody you trust that way, then those accidents aren't going to happen. But with an artist, you have to, especially from where I'm coming from, I'm probably at least 20 years older than they are now. So things have changed for me, Ritch, because when I started working in this business, I was 20 and everybody was 20. And now, very often, I'm older than the mother who dropped the artist off, which is kind of strange. And so I feel sort of in touch, and I know what I want to say, and I still know how to write a song, but sometimes I feel like they're not so sure. So I've got a little bit more to prove. Recently, I just stopped getting together with people who I really felt like were getting in a room with me and the jury was out. I wanted to feel like they were getting in a room with me because they were excited. If we didn't write a big hit that day or something that we loved, that's okay. But I want to feel like they're getting in the room for the right reason.
Interesting. Okay. So that kind of chemistry, it matters.
It matters.
Well, you say like the jury's out, but now.
Right.
Yeah.
I want somebody to come over, to be, they're really excited to work with me. And I have to say, there are teenagers that are excited to work with me, that, age is of no consequence, and they're excited to get there. So it doesn't have to do with how old is the person how old is the artist. It's their state of mind. It's you're as old as you feel, and you're as old as they perceive you.
Exactly. Shelly, what are the qualities for you that make a great co-writer? And it could be an artist or another songwriter, but just the qualities that you want in someone who you write with, okay?
I would like my co-writer, if there's only two of us in a room, they have to be musical. Because I'm musical, and I play guitar a little, and I play piano, but I want to get out from behind it. I would rather be in a room with somebody who's really fluent, because I can't go all the places I hear in my head, but I can direct them. But I'm spoiled. I don't want to be the only lyricist anymore. I like writing with people who've got words, and if they don't have a whole hook or they don't have a whole verse, I like to write with somebody who can edit me, who can say, what, that section is good, I think that line could be better. The days of agreeing to go into a room and having somebody press play on a track and going to lunch while you sit there trying to write it,
Write a lyric.
which has happened.
Yeah.
And I've done it willingly. That doesn't happen anymore. But not only do they stay in the room with me, I like the whole, it's like, I call it song sex. You both have to be there. And I like it. And if they can sing, that's even better. If they, can phrase a line and they have, cool ways to put things. I do it all. I want someone that can do it all.
Okay, so you want somebody to bring those qualities to the party with.
To do it with me.
All right.
Yeah.
What are some of the tools that you use or that you can recommend songwriters use to sharpen their craft, to keep their craft, up to, I don't want to say up to par, but, to improve it, to consistently improve it?
Listen to all kinds of music, crossword puzzles, exercising, reading, because reading opens you up to all this new vocabulary, and maybe not so much vocabulary that you would use in a song, but it just loosens you up with words.
It widens your palette.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. As you were saying that, the only very few people have ever said reading, and I remember once distinctly the two people that said reading in an interview that I read with them were Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin.
I'm okay with that.
He said, oh, wow, growing up I was a voracious reader, and he said, and in my 20s I did lots of reading when I was working early with Zeppelin, and you could tell. I mean, his lyrics are very. He's got a lot of sense of literature and things and imagery from that. And the other one was Joni Mitchell. He said that,
I'm in good company, I suppose.
That she does a lot of reading.
Yeah.
And she has, some of the most astonishing lyrical works, ever. So it is interesting that it comes from that.
Yeah.
Shelly, you are in the midst of writing a book, Confessions of a Serial Songwriter. Talk about the inspiration for that.
Well, what a road it's been. The inspiration for it was that the business was really changing and throwing me for a loop. I'd wake up every day and I would not know how to navigate, and the ways I had known how to navigate were just completely changing. And I would go along with it all, but I felt like I was straddling the old school and the new school. I was playing the game, but I felt like a lot of my sensibilities were still in the old school. It had changed so much that I had to take a step back and say, okay, how do I want to do this? What rules do I want to play by? And I started just posting about it and blogging about it. Well, I wasn't blogging about it yet, but just writing about it. It was very cathartic, getting it off my chest, putting little vignettes together. And a friend of mine said, I think this could be, a journalist friend said, I think it could be a good book. Now, I talked to other journalist friends that said, forget it. You think that the music business is competitive and it's hard to get a record deal and hard to make a record, wait till you write a book. But I didn't care. It was, if you ever read the book The Alchemist, where somebody just believes in something, I had such a great idea of what, not a great idea, I was so focused on what I wanted to do, and I was so sure of it. As sure as I ever was about writing Ritch. And I hadn't felt that in a really long time with songs, because I felt like songs started to sound like each other, and I was trying to write the thing that sounded like that song I was following. So I had this idea to write this book about my last 25 years in the music business, and how it's changed, how it has also changed for people that become parents and raising a child and getting older. I lost myself in it. I couldn't stop, and I never questioned it. So now I was going to self-publish it. And when I started to think about self-publishing it, all of a sudden Huffington Post picked up on a piece that I wrote, ran it, and it sort of went viral within the industry, and they invited me to blog for them, which was a dream. I thought, pinch me. This is like Carrie Bradshaw every night, just writing about the music business. So that's been wonderful, and I pulled back on the idea of self-publishing. Not that that's not a good way to go, because it really could be, but Huffington Post gave me this platform to find so many people who felt the way I did. And 6 months ago, I just thought, I can't do social media, I'm not that. But I got very into it. I had some wise people show me the way. And I've just made so many, I have to say, they're real relationships. Even some people that I've never met, I talk to every day. And it's been quite an experience. So I'm taking a little bit more time now, thinking of how I want to put it out there. But I'm clearing all my pictures and getting, agreements for, it's very exciting. So it definitely will come out. I just don't know how. Or I'd say within the year, but I'm not in a rush anymore. I realize how important it was that I didn't do it 6 months ago. As excited as I am about it, and every day I sit down with it and go through it, I hone it. Something gets better, something gets stronger, something gets more honest. So
it's a whole journey, it's a process.
It is a journey. It's been a road I could never have imagined. Really a fun, scary, overwhelming road that I have no regrets.
Talk about, you started the conversation about the book from just the massive ways that the music industry has changed for you as a songwriter. Can you talk about what some of those things are that have changed so dramatically in the last 10 years or so?
Well, technology has made it possible to be a songwriter, regardless of whether you play an instrument. Now, you were always able to be a songwriter if you didn't play an instrument, because you might have a lyric to contribute, and that was half the song. But technology made it possible for just tens of thousands of more people to jump in who might not have been able to be songwriters before. So there were so many more songwriters, and there were a lot less places for songs because albums weren't selling. So it was like musical chairs. There were more and more people walking around them and less chairs. So you weren't getting as much activity. Now, for me, I've had some really good luck and some big hits, and occasionally I thought, just stop and work these songs, which was viable, but I love writing songs. And I didn't want to stop. So these were obstacles. I thought, I'm writing just as much, but seeing a lot less fruits of my labor. And there a lot of artists, more and more artists started co-writing for their albums, which wasn't necessarily so many years ago. And there's nothing wrong with that. If they can write, they should. But there just wasn't as much space, and there were so many more of us.